Gentlemen, we have to move the conversation now forward, and let's discuss what's likely to happen in the National Assembly this morning. And I'll begin with the sitting member of Parliament in the afternoon, yes. Let's begin, Mheshimiwa from Tongaren, let's begin with the debate on gender. Where you were mentioning earlier that perhaps it's not being passed today?
Well, I've been out, but I think it should be coming to Parliament today.
Yes.
I know the various leaderships of the various parties have really campaigned to have the members of Parliament pass this bill.
Yes.
However, I will say I don't support it, and I have my reasons for it.
Okay.
We can meet the two-thirds gender balance without this kind of bill. What we need, let's look at the electoral laws. Let's change our electoral laws. Let's use proportional representation. Once we go to proportional representation, Parliament stays 290 people, 290 members. Using proportional representation, then we'll have the two-thirds gender rule followed using proportional representation. That is a far cheaper thing than what we are trying to do. Because what we are trying to do is to end up with a bloated Parliament using the gender equality mantra. Yet, yes, I agree, women should be given a chance in leadership in this country. That is a must. But how we go about it should not then damage that leadership itself. Because Parliament as it is now, you can hardly put a word in. You get 5 minutes to contribute to a motion. You can hardly put in anything.
Is it 5 or 3?
In fact, here, on this program, I talk for longer than I would be allowed to speak in Parliament, in the National Assembly. So I think bloating it up is not the way to go. Let's look seriously at proportional representation. That's what is in South Africa, that's what is in Botswana, that's what is in several jurisdictions who are able to meet the gender balance issue. So I think, yes, we must have women in leadership, we must have women in politics, but that kind of thing of increasing bloating Parliament is not the way to go.
It's not the way
so
to go.
I support having the two-thirds gender rule met, both in elective and appointive positions, but not this way.
Okay. Rwanda, you're going far. Even Rwanda has achieved it. I think 2 years ago, Rwanda achieved 50-50.
But remember, Rwanda is a dictatorship. It's different.
No, but just
it's wrong for us to compare ourselves to Rwanda.
On a point, not elective.
Rwanda is a dictatorship. If Kagame says he wants that parliament to have only women, they will
be all women. Yes. Yeah. But in government, these are appointed positions, and they're 50-50.
Yes, appointed positions.
Yes. They did it, not necessarily having a law, but just...
Even the new prime minister in Ethiopia is also trying that in appointive positions.
Yes, appointive,
now,
yes.
If we start with appointive positions, that will be good. But generally, the clamor has been representation in the various either county assemblies, National Assembly, Senate, and so on. I think we can actually reduce the numbers and still meet the gender rule if we seriously look at proportional representation as our electoral system. If we go that way, we will not increase the cost.
All right, gentlemen, we don't have a lot of time, so we'll make very short comments. Let me go to Bonnie. Yes, on the same thing. It's being debated finally this afternoon.
Yeah, it shouldn't bother members of Parliament that they're going to have many women after they pass this law, because also within the same constitution, Eseli, you remember there's a sunset clause.
There was no sunset clause. Now is when they are trying to put a sunset clause.
Yes.
The sunset clause had been removed in Naivasha.
Yes.
So it wasn't there.
In the bill now,
but now they are trying to put it.
Yes.
But you see,
so your point is still right, boss.
So I want to make my point.
Yeah.
So because on the same vehicle you are carrying the sunset clause, it therefore means it is not going to be there forever.
Yes.
From experience, and we've been around for a while in politics, we have seen young women, once they are nominated, they organize their finances. Now, when they go to run for a seat, they win.
They win.
Yeah.
We have Diambo is there.
Milo Diambo,
Cecily Barire,
and many others.
Yes.
Having just congratulated my daughter for passing exam yesterday, how can I also not want to have a world that gives equal opportunity to my boys and my girls? Well, do you have a problem with women?
No, no, no. If you remember, I've said, I think you weren't listening. I said, I support having this gender balance in leadership.
Yes.
But the way we go about it, let's change our electoral law to use proportional representation. Then we'll meet the 2/3 gender rule without increasing the cost
When I was a
or
small,
bloating up parliament.
when I was a small boy, my mother did not have a national identity card. And for her to receive money through the post office from my father, who was working in Fort Hall, now called Muranga, she had to go to the chief to write her a letter to take to the post office for her to get the money. And all it needed was for government to say, let women have identity cards. So this frustration of women running up to the days of not having identity cards, let's open it up. Life is such that things like water, which finds its own level, the competition between our boys and girls in future will also find its own level. At one time, you'll find this
There's a balance.
There's a balance.
Okay.
They just open up. We shall not die of women being in parliament. Who cares? Even if they go there and silly, they don't speak because the place is crowded. Who doesn't know that even during our time, you and I, when parliament was smaller, the people who were active at that time in parliament were not even more than 50. In the days of Kanu, one-party rule, it is Njonjo who coined it very well. There were only 7 members of parliament who were keeping the entire government in check, the so-called the 7 bearded sisters, Chelagat Mutai, James Orengo, Georgia Nyona, Martin Shukuku, Dr. Chibule Watsuma. So it shouldn't bother you.
Okay.
Let them just go there.
Aaron.
I agree with Bonnie completely. I support the bill because, you know, there are certain statistics which if you read in this country about women and how we have disenfranchised them as a society, given that we are ordinarily a patriarchal society, then you'd realize that there are certain advances and concessions we must make as men. Are you aware, for example, Ken, that even on something so serious like land ownership, to date, only 1.5% of women in this country have a title deed to their name. It just tells you how much, as a society, we continue to downtrod and look down upon our women, and therefore I do not feel that it's too much of a burden to the taxpayer or anything. It is you're including half of the team to be part of trying to find solutions. And the truth of the matter is that some of your fears, Sally, will be addressed by the sunset clause, because it's only a 20-year period where at the end of it you're supposed to have reorganized and see how things even out. Yes. And it might shock you, Sally, that we might be having this discussion thinking that it is benefiting the women, but a time may come in this country where it will be the men who will be the minority,
because
and
it cuts across. Yes.
we will end up benefiting from it.
Yes.
In fact, we rue the day that the women will gang up and organize, because they are more than us. And if if women decided, because I see how we are treating this matter as if it's a favor to them, if they decided to organize and they do it properly, the men in this country will be a minority.
Okay. And finally, Kimani Wamotangi.
Yes,
you've been writing.
No, I mean, I was just exercising my mind to the good ideas that have been floated by my colleagues. And Ken, what I just would want to add to what my colleagues have said then is one, I think in the backdrop of the hyped activity that has been there for the last 3-4 months. Remember, there was a lot of talk around the town that the wage bill is too heavy, that we need to trim down the size of parliament, and then now we are at a point whereby now we have to deal with this matter because it is in our law. I think first thing that has got to happen is there has to be a lot of civic education right now, for members of public to get to understand that because this is in our law, it has got to be done now. And then that makes us compliant. And then two, is that issue that has been floated by my colleagues here again on when this now becomes self-regulating and it becomes the end of the nominations. Quickly then to point out that for this to become a reality, if what we want to achieve is going to be attained, then also the criteria of nominations when these positions are being given to our ladies in nominations has got to be relooked at. You see, Ken, if we say that this is intended to spread the empowerment and give more opportunities to more women, and the criteria of nominations is not looked at, whereby you find that one person gets nominated 4 times.
Okay.
And then it beats logic. You find that it doesn't become useful. So even at political party level, the reform must also flow downwards, such that yes, it is done in Parliament, empower women, introduce that clause, because also at one time, then we have to agree that the ground is level enough for everyone to compete like it is in our countries. Okay. But then political parties must also have it clear that you nominate somebody maybe once, maximum probably will be twice. That's subject to debate, okay. But then that has got to be spread to as many women as possible.
You know,
yeah.
We've run out of time.
We have a senator in Australia, yes. Who is Kenyan born. She got into the Senate because the Australian system is proportional representation. So what I'm saying here is, I'm not saying that I'm against women cutting into Parliament. I'm saying the method we use.
Doing it.
Let's use proportional representation as our electoral system, then that will clear up the problem.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Next Tuesday, we shall have another opportunity to talk about what's affecting us, the politics of the day. And I want to thank you, Kimani Wamatangi, Aaron Cheriot, Eseli Simiu, and Boni Halwale for coming and sharing your thoughts with us this morning. We didn't have the time to talk about the Parliament Service Bill, but I know we discussed it yesterday with your colleagues extensively, so we talked about it. But thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts, and we'll do this again next week. Same place, right here on AM Live. My name is Ken Mijungu. Living with us coming up shortly, and at 9 NTV Today, we have several stories and several updates we have for you. So stay with us and stay on NTV. Good morning.